Thanks, Carrie, for that really constructive and positive presentation. Thank you. Our next speaker is Dr. Ferrero, who's going to talk about the issues of environmental risk. And again, if the global financial crisis taught us anything, is that we're not good at risk management. Thank you.
Thank you, Clarke. Good afternoon. This paper has been jointly elaborated with Professor Fernández, Professor Muñoz, and myself. We came from Universitat Jaume I from Spain. This is the outline of the presentation. We try to answer the 3 questions that we should address in this paper. Let me start for the first question. As you know, the most recent global financial crisis has put in evidence some serious weaknesses in the traditional risk assessment models. In fact, the board of directors or even the managers made decisions without considering the real risk of the corporations, and those decisions led to the corporations obtain a successful result, and in some cases, that decisions put in risk the viability of the firm. Therefore, this is a key issue that we should address. And in this paper, we address this problem. How we address this problem? By means of CSR approach. The objective of this paper is to integrate extra financial variables in the traditional risk management models. Why have we chosen corporate social responsibility? So CSR is a management approach that allows us to integrate in the management system extra financial variables like social, environmental, and corporate governance aspects. And with CSR, we think that we can change the traditional models. Why have we chosen the enterprise risk management model? So nowadays, the firms should manage their impact, and manage their impact involves manage the risk. If they ensure the continuity of these firms. Therefore, we need to manage the risk. There are international best practices in this sense. That is the ERM model proposed by COSO in 2004. And this model is a 3-dimensional model, where in the first dimension, we observe the goal of the firm in 4 categories. In the second dimension, we observe 8 components that the firm should address to achieve these goals, the corporate goals. And there are a 3rd dimension where the firm should establish this ERM model to achieve these goals. However, these models have some limitations. For example, Williamson remarks that this model ignores shared management of risk with external parties and doesn't take into account the social implications. Therefore, with our proposal, we try to overcome these limitations. But what's our concrete proposal? We try to explore how an organization may include the CSR approach in these 8 components of the ERM model at all levels of the organization, and in order to achieve the goals in these 4 categories in economic, social, environmental, and governance terms. Then now let me explain how we are including these financial and extra-financial criteria in this model. The first component is related to the philosophy, to the culture, to the values of the firm. Then we propose that the firm adopt a stakeholder approach, and this approach should be involved at all levels of the organization. With respect to the second component, the company, when define the mission, in this mission, we should observe the CSR approach. And also, when the company defines the objectives and also when this company communicates to stakeholders the objectives. The third component is when the firm identifies the event, but in our proposal, these events are not only the events related to financial aspects, also environmental, social, and corporate governance aspects. With respect to the fourth component, risk assessment, to explain this component, I need to define the risk. We understand the risk as the combination of a negative consequence of an event and its probability of occurrence. In this definition, there are two important variables. One is the consequence, and the second is the probability of occurrence. And we work with these two variables with a risk matrix, with this tool. This is a traditional risk matrix where we can observe the two variables. Traditionally, only has taken into account the financial aspects. However, we extend this traditional matrix with respect to the other aspects. And if you observe this matrix, you observe a red line, and this red line means the risk appetite of the firm. This risk appetite is defined by board of directors, and it depends on the risk aversion of its firm. And based on this matrix, the firm should respond at risk. And for example, if the risk is in the green area, in this case, the firm accepts this risk. However, when the position of the risk is outside this red line, the firm can share the risk, can delay the risk, or can mitigate the risk and move this risk to the green area. In our proposal, we suggest the management and certification systems related to CSR, like IMAS, to mitigate the risk and move this risk to the green area, and also to control the practices that firms are carrying out to mitigate this risk. With respect to the seventh component, the company should identify those relevant information to the stakeholder and communicate this information in the four aspects. And finally, the eighth component is about the evaluation. There are internal and external evaluations for this process, for evaluate the effectiveness of this process. This is quite important. And just to conclude, let me say that this is a first stage, first paper in this regard. We try to put in common the CSR approach and the enterprise risk management model in common. And we would like to encourage future studies in this line because fortunately or unfortunately, there are many open research questions at this moment in this topic. So thank you very much.